What happens when Toyota takes the most legendary SUV name in its history and combines it with the prestige of the century? You get something completely different, something bigger, something more luxurious, and something far more exclusive. A statement that says luxury doesn't have to come from Europe. This is for people who want something more exclusive than the usual premium SUV, because this vehicle could offer something many competitors don't. Character. A Mercedes-Maybach has prestige. A Bentley has craftsmanship. A Rolls-Royce has exclusivity. A Range Rover has luxury and off-road heritage. But a Land Cruiser Century could bring together luxury, durability, Japanese engineering, and serious capability in one package. That's what makes this concept so compelling. It doesn't try to become a Rolls-Royce. It doesn't need to copy a Maybach. It doesn't need to imitate a Bentley. It can create its own definition of luxury. Japanese luxury, elegant, powerful, capable, and incredibly confident. Let's begin with the exterior. The first impression is pure presence. This Land Cruiser Century looks massive, wide, and incredibly confident. The front end is dominated by a large, sophisticated grille surrounded by sharp LED headlights. The lighting signature gives the SUV a modern identity, while the sculpted hood creates a powerful connection between the front fascia and the enormous body. But the black finish takes everything to another level. The deep black paint makes the bodywork look almost endless, while the dark glass and black trim create a mysterious executive appearance. This is the kind of SUV that doesn't need bright colors or excessive decoration to attract attention. It simply arrives and everyone notices. The front bumper is heavily sculpted with aggressive aerodynamic shapes, giving the vehicle a more muscular personality. Large air openings sit beneath the headlights, while the lower section looks almost like a performance SUV. Then you see the wheels. Huge black multi-spoke wheels fill the wheel arches, giving the Land Cruiser Century a dramatically upgraded stance. The wheels aren't simply large for appearance. They completely change the character of the vehicle. The traditional Land Cruiser image becomes something much more premium, aggressive and exclusive. Move along the side, and the proportions become even more impressive. The long body, high roofline, large windows, muscular fenders, and strong shoulder line create the visual impression of a private luxury vehicle. The side steps make entry easier, while the dark trim and tinted glass provide additional privacy for rear passengers. And that rear section is equally dramatic. The large LED taillights create a distinctive signature, while the tailgate carries bold Land Cruiser lettering. The rear bumper features an aggressive diffuser-inspired design, and the exhaust-style outlets add a powerful performance touch. It's a fascinating combination. The SUV looks luxurious enough for a five-star hotel, but rugged enough to suggest that it could disappear into the wilderness whenever its owner wants. But the real transformation begins when you open the doors, because the cabin is where this Land Cruiser Century concept truly separates itself. The interior shown here is dramatically different from a conventional SUV. Deep brown leather covers the seats, doors, dashboard, and center console. The diamond pattern stitching has a handcrafted appearance, adding a sense of craftsmanship throughout the cabin. Wood-style trim stretches across the doors and center console, creating a warm and sophisticated atmosphere, and above the passengers is perhaps the most spectacular detail of all, a starry headliner. Hundreds of tiny points of light create the appearance of a night sky across the roof. It's the kind of feature that instantly changes the atmosphere of the cabin. At night, this could feel less like sitting inside an SUV and more like sitting inside a private luxury lounge, and the rear passengers appear to receive the VIP treatment instead of being treated as an afterthought. This concept gives the second row a commanding role. Large executive-style seats provide generous space and support, while the substantial center console separates the passengers. There are screens behind the front seats, allowing rear occupants to enjoy entertainment during long journeys. The center console appears to provide additional controls and storage, while the surrounding wood-style trim creates an elegant executive environment. This is exactly where the Century influence becomes most interesting. The Century name has always represented prestige and executive transportation. Now, imagine that philosophy combined with the space and capability of a Land Cruiser. The result could be a vehicle that takes passengers to a business meeting in the morning, a luxury resort in the afternoon, and a remote destination by evening, and the journey itself could become part of the experience. From a technology perspective, a vehicle at this level would be expected to deliver a complete suite of advanced features. We could imagine a large central infotainment display, a fully digital driver interface, premium connectivity, advanced navigation, smartphone integration, and a sophisticated premium audio system. Driver assistance would also be a major part of the experience. Features such as adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assistance, blind spot monitoring, automatic emergency braking, parking assistance, and a surround view. Camera system could make this enormous SUV easier and safer to operate, but technology should never overwhelm the luxury experience. The best luxury vehicles make advanced technology feel natural. Everything should be positioned exactly where the driver and passengers expect it to be. And then there is the most important question: performance. This is where the Land Cruiser identity becomes extremely important. Luxury is impressive, but the Land Cruiser name carries a different kind of reputation. It represents durability, it represents reliability, it represents the ability to travel where ordinary luxury vehicles simply cannot. Land Cruiser Century concept could potentially combine that legendary capability with a more refined powertrain designed for effortless performance. A powerful hybrid system would make sense for a vehicle like this, delivering strong acceleration while improving efficiency and reducing the traditional fuel consumption associated with a large luxury SUV. The emphasis wouldn't necessarily be about becoming a sports car. Instead, the goal would be effortless power. Press the accelerator, and the SUV should move forward with authority, smoothly and quietly. That character would perfectly match the Century philosophy. Luxury should feel effortless, and when the road disappears, the Land Cruiser heritage could become even more important. Four-wheel drive, advanced traction management, sophisticated suspension technology, and multiple driving modes could give this luxury SUV the ability to handle difficult terrain. That creates a very interesting contrast. You could drive this vehicle through the center of a major city, arrive at a luxury hotel, and nobody would question its premium status. But you could also leave the pavement behind and explore places where many traditional luxury SUVs would hesitate. That's the unique appeal. The Land Cruiser Century doesn't need to choose between luxury and capability. It could potentially offer both, and that's exactly what could make the design so powerful. Think about the competition. Mercedes-Maybach focuses heavily on prestige and comfort. Bentley focuses on craftsmanship and performance. Rolls-Royce represents the highest levels of exclusivity, range. Rover combines luxury with off-road heritage, but the Land Cruiser Century could approach the market from a completely different direction. Japanese luxury, a different philosophy. Vehicle built around understatement rather than excessive attention. The owner doesn't need to prove anything. The vehicle itself makes the statement. The black exterior, executive rear cabin, premium materials, dramatic lighting, massive wheels, and imposing proportions all create a presence that feels expensive without becoming excessive, and that's perhaps the most fascinating thing about this concept. It doesn't need to look European. It doesn't need to follow traditional luxury design rules. It can be proudly Japanese. It can take inspiration from the century's heritage while maintaining the unmistakable strength of the Land Cruiser. If Toyota were to turn a concept like this into reality, pricing would obviously place it well above the mainstream Land Cruiser lineup. The exact figure would depend on the final specifications, powertrain, technology, and level of craftsmanship. But one thing is certain, this wouldn't be positioned as an ordinary SUV. It would be designed as a flagship, a vehicle for executives, collectors, luxury buyers, and people who want something different from the usual European choices. And that's where the Land Cruiser Century becomes particularly interesting, because exclusivity isn't always about having the most expensive badge. Sometimes exclusivity comes from choosing something that almost nobody else has. Imagine arriving at a luxury hotel surrounded by Maybachs, Bentleys, Range Rovers, and Rolls-Royces. Then a black Land Cruiser Century pulls up. People would look, not because it is trying to imitate those vehicles, but because it represents something completely different. It says that luxury can be durable. Luxury can be adventurous. Luxury can be understated. And luxury can come from Japan, of course. It's important to remember that the vehicle shown in this video is a concept visualization and should not be considered an officially confirmed production model unless Toyota announces those specifications. But as a design vision, the idea is incredibly compelling. A Land Cruiser Century could become one of the most unique luxury SUVs in the world. And the journey itself would be part of the experience. Move to the front cabin, and the atmosphere becomes more driver-focused. The steering wheel combines leather and wood-style detailing, creating a traditional luxury appearance while maintaining the commanding position expected from a Land Cruiser. A modern digital instrument display sits behind the wheel, while a large infotainment screen dominates the center of the dashboard. Below the screen are physical controls, vents, and climate functions, creating a useful balance between modern technology and traditional controls. The center console features a substantial gear selector, cup holders, storage, and premium trim. The door panels continue the theme with leather stitching, wood-style surfaces, and metallic details. Everything feels substantial. Everything looks carefully considered. But there's one thing this vehicle absolutely cannot forget. It's a Land Cruiser. Luxury is impressive. Technology is impressive. The design is impressive. But the Land Cruiser name demands capability. If Toyota ever creates a true Century-inspired Land Cruiser, it would need to maintain the durability and confidence that made the Land Cruiser famous around the world. That could mean advanced four-wheel drive, sophisticated suspension technology, intelligent terrain management, powerful torque delivery, and a high-output hybrid or electrified powertrain. Toyota has not officially confirmed a production vehicle matching this exact design, so any 2027 engine or performance specifications should be considered speculative. But imagine the possibilities. A powerful electrified powertrain could deliver instant torque while maintaining effortless acceleration. The vehicle wouldn't need to feel aggressive. It would need to feel effortless. Press the accelerator, and the massive SUV moves forward with authority. Whether you're overtaking on the highway, climbing a steep road, towing equipment, or traveling across rough terrain, the power should always feel available. That's the kind of performance that fits the Land Cruiser Century philosophy. And then there is technology. A flagship SUV like this could potentially offer a fully digital cockpit, large high-resolution displays, premium surround sound, wireless smartphone connectivity, wireless charging, and 360-degree cameras, intelligent parking assistance, adaptive cruise control, lane centering assistance, collision avoidance, and advanced driver support systems could also be part of the package. But the technology wouldn't be there simply to impress passengers. It would be there to make the vehicle easier, safer, and more relaxing to drive. For rear passengers, luxury could go even further. Individual climate controls, premium entertainment displays, power-adjustable executive seats, heated and ventilated seating, ambient lighting, premium audio, multiple charging ports, and personalized comfort settings could transform the second row into a private luxury lounge. The objective would be simple: make every journey feel effortless. Now comes the biggest question. Who would actually buy a Land Cruiser Century SUV? Potentially a very different type of luxury buyer: executives, entrepreneurs, celebrities, collectors, luxury enthusiasts, and people who simply want something more exclusive than the usual premium SUV, because this vehicle could offer something many competitors don't: character. A Mercedes-Maybach has prestige. A Bentley has craftsmanship. A Rolls-Royce has exclusivity. A Range Rover has luxury and off-road heritage. But a Land Cruiser Century could bring together luxury, durability, Japanese engineering, and serious capability in one package, and that combination could be extremely powerful. Imagine arriving at a luxury resort in this black SUV. The enormous grille catches the light. The LED headlights glow. The huge wheels fill the entrance, and the doors open. Inside, the seat massage, brown leather, and wood-style trim create a warm atmosphere. The starry ceiling shines above the passengers, and underneath all that luxury is the legendary Land Cruiser philosophy. That's what makes this concept so compelling. It doesn't try to become a Rolls-Royce. It doesn't need to copy a Maybach. It doesn't need to imitate a Bentley. It can create its own definition of luxury: Japanese luxury. Quiet, elegant, powerful, capable, and incredibly confident. Of course, The vehicle shown here should be understood as a concept style or imagined interpretation of a 2027 Toyota Land Cruiser Century SUV. Toyota has not officially confirmed every design feature, specification, engine, price, or production plan shown in these visuals. But as a vision of Toyota's ultimate luxury SUV, it's hard not to be impressed. The Land Cruiser has always represented adventure. The Century represents prestige. Bring those two philosophies together, and the result could be one of the most fascinating luxury SUVs imaginable. A vehicle with the presence of a limousine, the comfort of a luxury lounge, the technology of a modern flagship, and the confidence of a Land Cruiser. That is the real dream behind the 2027 Toyota Land Cruiser Century SUV. And if Toyota ever turns a concept like this into reality, it could force the entire luxury SUV market to rethink what Japanese luxury can be. So now the question is simple. Would you choose this incredible Land Cruiser Century over a Range Rover, Mercedes-Maybach GLS, Bentley Bentayga, or Rolls-Royce Cullinan? Tell us your choice in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep look at Toyota's ultimate luxury SUV concept, make sure to like this video, subscribe to NCR Reviews, and turn on notifications because the future of luxury SUVs is changing. And if Toyota decides to put this kind of machine into production, the Land Cruiser name could become more powerful than ever.